All right, this video blog is about pioneers in science fiction, black science fiction. I was thinking about my friend, right, who edited one of my stories, who accepted one of my stories in an anthology that she did, who has a paranormal investigator series, Vala Jean Jeffers out of Atlanta. I believe she's going to get an award named after her in the black science fiction community. I just think because she was that important, or that present, right? So I feel that, as I was trying to explain to my wife, right? Okay, my bad. Welcome to Sci-Fi Express Lane. This is Jeff Carroll. I'm talking about something that is emotional to me, and that is, kind of being a pioneer, kind of paying your dues. We always talk about black science fiction and when it's going to happen. And I think we're in a period where it is happening, right? It's happening in comic books. It's happening in books in general. But, and it's also happening in film, but film is a lot bigger budgets, and it's going to take a little bit longer. But in the process of that happening, there's pioneers that came before, that are around during, when I wrote my stories, my very first one, Thug Angel, Rebirth of a Gargoyle, I wrote it with the thought that it's not where science fiction is now, but when hip-hoppers and young people and more cool people get into science fiction, black cool people or whatever, when hip-hop, when coolness kind of takes over science fiction, my book is going to be right there. When I wrote Boss Lady's Planet and changed the name to Boss Ladies, Welcome to Boss Lady's Planet, I was writing it with the thought that, it would go there one day. Not that it was there right then, for everybody, but I knew it was, a title or a story or something like that, like Rashida the Zombie Killer. These are stories that are almost what people are thinking of now, but I have already had these for, 4 or 5 years. And with Thug Angel, even longer, earlier than that. So there's an element of pioneering that I am a part of. Like, so when I say like Rashida the Zombie Killer, right? Yeah, it might not be a popular book title, but I know right now if I was to do it as a comic book, it would be out of this world. And we've got a whole bunch of stories, titles like that. Welcome to Boss Lady's Planet. That is an easy comic book title because comic books are there. Now, are movies going to make it yet? Not yet, but I think they will. I think they would look at it as a story title, even, hey, that's a script that we're interested in. So I think, when I talk about being a pioneer, it's sometimes, writing for the future. As a black science fiction writer, we knew certain titles or stories, may not have been something that the market would have taken at the time we wrote it. But we knew that, there was a market for it, and at some time it would turn towards that. So some writers look at trends and they're like, oh, everybody's into vampires, let me put my vampire story out. Let me write a vampire story. So some people, and this is probably the common thing, they write for what the market is looking for. And be honest, that's how you get publishing deals. That's how you get put on. And I'm mostly talking about books, right? I don't know if that type of story theme falls true with comic books, and I don't know about movies, but I know with books, certain things come in, and the market is looking for certain things, and there's writers that write for them. With black science fiction, art, whole everything is separate because we're black. We write vampires, this is a black vampire. We write zombies, this is black zombies. Whatever it is, that black is connected to it. So when black comes into fashion, that's when we'll get our turn. But until then, black becomes a bigger obstacle of ours. So when I think of our pioneers, like if I was to try to explain why somebody like Vala Jean, who is a good writer, enjoyed her story and stories, because I've read some of her short stories as well, didn't have a publishing deal. I just think, at the time that she put her book out, or time that she wrote her manuscript, maybe she couldn't connect with the right publisher, agent, or couldn't get through the slosh pile. Maybe it was because she was black, her story was black. Whatever it is, I think had she come out maybe in a year or two, I think we're that close. Might be right now, might be somebody getting something put on right now. But I think, if she would have came out now, as far as a book in the black community, it probably would have been received the same, because I think we've always supported each other. But in terms of her getting a publishing deal, I really think those things are closer to happening than they were years ago. I think, the black writers that have gotten put on mostly were, ones that dealt lightly with racial subjects. I think they dealt heavy with other subjects like feminism and other things that, are safer or easier to deal with. Maybe those are even in fashion. So when it comes to black stories, I think, we do have to wait till we get in fashion. I talk about the post-Black Panther era of film and television, and that's where I'm getting it from. I'm getting it from just the simple fact that, things have changed after Black Panther for black stories and black writers and black characters, because, for whatever reason, the market didn't think they was marketable, right? So whether they thought they were going to be too militant and deal too heavy with racial subjects, or they would be something that the mainstream world would not be able to get into. And, I'm going to say I think Black Panther did better than Shang-Chi. I think Black Panther did better than Miss Marvel in terms of some of Marvel's deliberate attempts to be diverse, right? I think Shang-Chi is a beautiful story, but I think it really got pushed because it was going to be a Chinese superhero, and they could not let that out of their mind. They were like, oh my God, we got to do this. Chinese superhero? Oh, come on. And then same thing with Miss Marvel. Muslim character? Oh, green lighted. We're ready for it, or let me see that, So when it comes to those things, I really think, they got fast-tracked, right? They got fast-tracked. So anyway, I don't know. I just think the market is changing. I'm being patient. Those type of things do happen in the world. So it isn't the end of the world when they happen. It's part of the world. I was talking to my wife again about, I guess, the slush pile and how those things exist where, writers and people have to wait to get their put on, how many submissions there are, how do you get to the top of the submission pile. If I knew, and I don't even know if I've ever gotten to the top of the submission pile, but I do know that there is a submission pile. I do know agents have talked to me about, things that, you could do to kind of get to the top of the submission pile. I don't know if there's a black submission pile or if there's a white submission pile. I don't know if it's better to use a pen name or not in the submission pile and getting put on. So, anyway, I even think there's a theme of let's put on some African writers, for two reasons. One, okay, it's diverse, right? It's beautiful to have some diversity, and this writer is from Ghana, right? Or whatever. We're going to put him on, right? And then there's the other thing where, I still think there's some potential apprehension when it comes to African American writers, because we are direct victims of racism. We're still dealing with it. If you go to Sesame Place, your kids is dealing with it, right? So, what do you call it? I think African writers may even go to Sesame Place and not even pick up on it, regardless of whether they want to write about it. I don't even think they would pick up on it. And then beyond picking up on it, I don't think they would write about it in the same way that a Black American would write about it. And if they do write about racism and oppression, it's tolerable because it may come from South Africa, and it may not touch the Trump community. It may not touch, it might not trigger white fragility because you're dealing with something that other white people did, as opposed to the ancestors and the parents of the white people that live here in America. Maybe that's a whole blog on itself. But, I see a lot of African writers, playing down, potential racism, like, there's a separate thing between black sci-fi and African science fiction, African futurism. Yeah, it's the setting and the writer, but beyond that, we think a lot alike. So, do white writers say this is a white American, or this is an Irish, or this is an English, this is a French? Maybe it comes from France. Maybe they speak to their nationality, but I don't know if they speak to their cultural separation and differences. So anyway, I think there's pioneers. I think things are changing for Black writers in terms of, I'm going to wrap this up, but in terms of being able to get looks. I think it's also something for Black writers in terms of getting publishing deals and getting put on, whether it's in film, whether it's in comic book or whatever. I think this is our time, because I think it's getting easier, or not say easier, I think it's becoming more marketable and we're becoming trendy. Not probably yet, but probably more. And that's it. And thank you for the topic. Like, share, subscribe, and comment. I always ask for comments. I need the likes. That's why I mentioned it first. Give me the likes. Follow me. Subscribe to this blog. But also comment, because that's how I get more fuel, because this is self-written. So if you run into me and you say something provocative, hey, I'm going to use it. All right. Talk to you later. Peace.